add this stream in here. So we're live on YouTube, we're on Facebook, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Instagram, and we're doing Pat Insider Secrets, Ask Me Anything. If you got an email to say go to the Zoom webinar was not allowing us to stream across multiple platforms, so we're just going to stream here. And you can come back to it later. We'll send it out to you. So welcome to Pat Insider Secrets, Ask Me Anything. This is something we're starting doing this live. I know we've been doing different videos, different reels, but we do Ask Me Anything live, so you can come on and get your IP questions answered. We can let you know. I guess today our main question today we're going to ask while we're giving people a chance to come on is what is intellectual property? So if we look at the word intellectual, and we look at the word property. So property conveys or denotes ownership of something tangible. We think of property, we also oftentimes think of real estate, think of homes, places where we physically live, where we exist. We also think of, possessions. You think of, you have your iPhone I'm using to record here, the computer, these different things. You can think of your car, your house, your clothes, your possessions, your jewelry, all these things, right? That's property. And when we talk about intellectual property, that's a different type of property. When we talk about intellectual, that means something that comes from the intellect. It's something that's produced or a quality of the intellect. So we're talking about something that's in our thoughts, talking about something that's in our minds, something that is intangible. So intellectual property. What is intellectual property? And so I'm going to give you an example of what intellectual property is. If we think about intellectual property, we're talking about our thoughts. We're talking about our ideas. But that's not all that intellectual property is. In addition to your thoughts and your ideas, intellectual property is also, it can be your reputation. It can be your past experiences, your know-how, your relationships. These are things that, based on your intellect and your experience, you can leverage them. They have a value. So if you know someone in a particular company, you worked a certain type of job, you have a certain skill. Skills can be intellectual property if used in a certain way. They're things that you possess inside your mind. So intellectual property. So what are some other things you can think of? Talk about intellectual property. Intellectual property, thoughts, ideas, creativity, reputation, relationships, experiences, know-how, skill, right? A lot of times we think of intellectual property, we automatically jump to legal tools that protect intellectual property. That's not the question. The question is, what is intellectual property? So you can put in your comments, put in the chat, whatever you like. We'll come back to it. What is intellectual property? And a lot of times, if we can't answer this question, we don't understand the value of it. So I'll take a bit of a tangent here. I'm going to talk about something that's in the news. So the name that's in the news today and really for the past month or so, and it's pretty much always in the news one way or another, but more recently it's been the rapper, entertainer, fashion designer Kanye West, Chicago's own Kanye West, rapper, entertainer. He has been involved in a public feud or dispute, more recently appearing and making very incendiary anti-Semitic comments and other comments in public, as well as expressing some questionable behavior in the public. And as a result, his deals have been, a lot of the companies he's been working with, the people that have been representing him, have all, stopped all their business deals with him. One of the interesting things about Kanye West, if you look at any of our content, you know that he's a figure that we often have some comments on intellectual property because he is a creative. And it's something how we often think of intellectual property. We think about how it's used. So as a creative, Kanye West is a producer. He started off taking music. In the type of production, he was not necessarily an original music producer. What he would do, he would take he's a sampler. So he would take existing songs and then he would take pieces and parts and use those existing song elements to create his own composition. So his composition is then putting together contents of others' works, and then he would produce, music, maybe adding his touches and things like that. That's how he got his claim to fame. And he had this little trick. He would speed up old songs really fast and then, put those with hip hop beats and make his soulful sounding music. So this, Kanye West is someone who has built his brand off of utilizing others' intellectual property, contributing his own to it. But that's pretty much a big part of his claim to fame and his rise to success. Despite what you may think of him in the public or what he's doing, his actions right now, he is someone that understands the power of intellectual property. Now, I don't know if he always understands how to protect his intellectual property. That's a different conversation, and we'll get to that. So the question right now the question on the board is, what is intellectual property, right? What is intellectual, right on the board is different, right? Property. And we'll call it IP for short. We're not talking about the IP, this is the internet protocol. We're talking about IP, which is intellectual property. So intellectual property, what is it? We said intellectual property is what? So it's property, we'll call it thought property, right? It exists in your mind. So we'll call it mental property. But let's break it down. Thoughts, ideas, know-how, reputation, it can be your experiences, it can be your relationships. Now, all these aren't necessarily one-to-one direct matches of intellectual property, but they are things that can be, considered. They have an impact on intellectual property. Now, when we look at intellectual property, notice I didn't say patents, trademarks, copyrights, trade secrets, any of the things we think about. Because what intellectual property is, it is, in the legal tools to protect it, are two different things. So if you're tuning into this channel, this is Ask Me Anything with Patent Insider. And, if you like this, you can like, subscribe, whatever channel you're on, make a comment or ask a question. It doesn't look like I can see all of the questions as they come in. I'm looking at them, and next time I'll have make sure I do this during working hours. Have someone in here to tell me what the questions are. But we're talking about intellectual property. Hi, I'm new. Okay, you ask a question, we'll get to it. This is Ask Me Anything, Patent Insider Secrets. We're talking about intellectual property. We started off talking about what is IP. IP is intellectual property is thoughts, ideas that you own. It's also your know-how, your reputation, your experiences. And this is different. Okay, you have a request. Okay, hold on. I think someone's trying to get in Instagram here. Question. You can ask your question in the comments, or see, I can't see all these questions. All right, so you can ask your question. I think you can ask your question now. I think you can. Okay, I don't know how to change that. I don't know why you're getting the mirror. This is the front facing camera. I don't know. We'll try to fix that for next time. I don't know why the words are backwards. But this is what is intellectual property, thought property, mental property, thoughts, ideas, know-how, reputation, experiences, relationships. Now, next thing is, how do you protect your intellectual property? So that's a good question, right? How do we protect this? So how do you protect IP, right? I can't write backwards. So I think when we save it, we'll make sure the video comes out and you'll see everything the right way. So also you can join, you go to YouTube. We're streaming live on YouTube, so you can look at that, or Facebook or LinkedIn. Should be facing forward. So before we get to how to protect IP, what's the interesting thing about intellectual property is that it actually has a value. So intellectual property, if you do a balance sheet, like if anyone here knows accounting, you do a balance sheet, or if you follow Earn Your Leisure, I love those guys. Their platform is awesome. they always have assets over liabilities, right? Assets are here in the column. These are things that add value. Liabilities are things that, subtract value, right? So when you do a balance sheet, up here you have things like inventory, you have all these things that are listed. But when you get to the bottom here, this is intangible assets, right? Intangible assets are IP goes here. You have some other things that go there as well, but you're looking at things so IP has a value, even though these are ideas. The things that I have here. So if you have a business, for example, your book of business, all of your contacts, all of the people that you call, all the people that have paid you, all the accounts, all that's intellectual property. Property of your business doesn't belong to anybody else. That has a value to it. If you sold your business, there's a value to your catalog of business. If you have internal policies and procedures, how you answer the phone, how you run your business, how you do sales, how you fulfill the orders, all those things. If you have a booklet or you do training with any of your people that come to your business, your employees, that's intellectual property. That's part of its intangible assets. If you have a brand name, and we'll talk about that. How do you protect IP? If you have any of the legal tools to protect some of your IP, that's also part of your intangible assets. So it has a value. It has a book value. It goes, can be reported to the IRS, can be part of your books on your accounting. But managing your intellectual property is something that's very, very important. And I'll give you some examples. Again, we're only going live here for 30 minutes today. We'll probably be doing this again, having this ongoing series of intellectual property, asking questions about intellectual property. The only questions I can see right now, someone asked a question, is what's in Instagram. I cannot see the questions as they appear in LinkedIn or YouTube. We'll work on that. Again, it's the first time we're going live on all these platforms at one time. So we'll see how to improve for next time. So just this is a note. You want to note this. This is something to keep in your back pocket. Like I said, we're going to cover a lot of material, and I don't know that we can go through it all in detail, but I'll try to go through as much as I can, and then we'll go through the other parts later. But the main thing you want to leave here today with is understanding what is intellectual property. And the example that we use is Kanye West because he's in the news. People know who he is. He's a known name. And so we're going to use him as an example to answer these questions. So Kanye West, so part of this, the reason we start here, what is intellectual property? This is the question you need to ask yourself for your business. What is intellectual property? You want to think about, once you understand what it is, well, what intellectual property do you have? What intellectual property do you have? You got to think about that. So when you think about what intellectual property that you have to know what it is. Again, we said it's your thoughts, it's your ideas, it's your know-how, your reputation, your experiences, your relationships. But it's also, so let's roll that over into how to protect it. So you can have, the first thing you want to do is what is intellectual property? And then you want to write down what your intellectual property is. What thoughts do you have? If you have a business, for instance, so let's say you run Acme food products, right? And I just told one needs to research protection on intellectual property. Can't share. Okay. If you have something, I'll see if I can. I can't read all the messages as we're going. Like I said, next time I'll make sure this a little earlier, have someone else here kind of look at that so I can. So you want to understand what intellectual property is. Then after you understand what intellectual property is, you want to evaluate for your business. Let's say you run we're using a music example. Say you're an artist. We talked about Kanye West. What kind of intellectual property do you have? So if you're an artist, you say if you're a rapper, well, first Kanye West was a producer. So he has songs or beats, right? So that's the type of IP. So let's go through this. So we're Kanye West. We list out, as a producer, what do you have, right? So if you're an artist or a producer, what kind of IP do you have? Well, you have, first off, you have your name, right? Your name is your reputation, your honor, your character, all that's wrapped into your name. So this can be your real name, or this can be your stage name. Kanye West is not a good example, but it's Jay-Z. Jay-Z is a stage name for Sean Carter. So Jay-Z, just think about the things. You have as a producer or an artist, your IP is what you have: your name, your stage name, you have your songs, and this is if you're a producer, they're your beats. If you're artist, your songs you've written. If you have people that helped you with the song, that also. What else do you have? You might have the names of your album names. What else might you have? You might have a logo. You might have a slogan. So I don't know. Let's say you're an artist. You come up with a song. You got a song called "Run It," and then you say, okay, your slogan is "We Run It." So you want to protect both of those, right? So you have a slogan. Like I said, Nike is a name. Nike is a logo, a swoosh, but also the slogan is "Just Do It." So these are just some things you may have. How do you protect a IP? There's different type of protections, right? You have content protection, right? You have brand protection. You have patent protection. You have trade secret protection. Content protection, brand protection, patent protection, trade secret protection. You also have your internal IP, right? We'll talk about that. That's in addition to these. That's 5. So how to protect it? You need to know what. How do you protect these things? How do I protect my content? How do I protect my name? Well, let's start in order. Content protection. How do I protect my songs and my beats? Right. This is done by copyright. You file a copyright protection. Right. How do I protect my songs and my beats? Okay. That's what kind of copyright. How do I protect my trade name? How do I protect my my stage name? How do I protect my logo, my slogans? Those are trademarks. Okay. Patents. Usually, a producer, unless you create some software like Fruity Loops or something like that, you're not really going to have a patent. Okay. But patent protection is usually for like an invention, a machine, a product, an article of composition. Like you have a new, maybe you need some lotions or potions. Maybe you have a new physical product, something you're going to sell on Amazon. Maybe you have like, a new marker, something like that. So artwork, the question is, what do we do with artwork? So when we talk about content protection, this is something that content is something that comes out of the mind, like an artistic expression. So artwork, I got some artwork around here somewhere, but artwork, a logo, not a logo, but artwork. Artwork, it can be an article, it can be a book, it can be music that's composed, a song, all these things, copyrights. Okay? The copyrights prove authorship. I'm the author of this, or I'm the artist that created this. Okay? That's what we have. For a brand, so this is different. IP that's related to my brand, say an artist. So Kanye West, just changed his name to Ye. Maybe he has Ye trademarked. That's a brand. You protect that with a trademark. Or maybe it's Kanye West, and maybe Ye was his stage name, and he trademarked both of those. The names of the albums, College Dropout. I don't know, I can't think of all the stuff. But all those different albums, Twisted Dark Fantasy, all these different ones, those would be, trademarks for the album names. The logo, I know he had like a teddy bear, some kind of bear with a book bag, and that was his logo for a while. I don't know if it's still his logo, but that would be a logo. So when you're talking about brand protection, this is saying for my product or my business in the marketplace, in the specific classification, and we're talking about as a rap artist or as a musician, if you see this name, if you see this word, if you see this logo, it's associated with me. So if you hear this, we also think of like Jingles. What's that commercial? Nationwide is on your side. So that's a jingle. You can trademark a jingle because when I hear that sound, it's associated with your business. So in insurance, Nationwide is on your side, or there's like some other song or jingle that goes with a business. So trademark brand protection is about business protection. It's not for anything else. Business protection, brand protection, patent protection. Again, if you come up with a new machine, product, new drug, new device, new software application, all that's pretty competitive now for software applications. But yeah, that's patent protection. Probably no patents. Like I said, Kanye, I don't think there's any patents. Trade secrets. Maybe Kanye has a method of doing his beats that's secret to him, how he masters and mixes his beats. That may be something he doesn't want to tell anybody. If you work for him, he makes you sign a contract so you can't tell anybody. Once I show you how I do this, you can never, use this again without my permission. You can't, use it. So that's one thing. Question: Paris Hilton trademarked some words she used that we took for granted. So Cardi B tried to. Yeah, I'm familiar with that. Cardi B tried to trademark the word occur. There's a very specific way you have to use it. So you can't. Like also her, I think LeBron James tried to trademark "Shut Up and Dribble" and Taco Tuesday. So a lot of these things get denied because you have to have a business case for it. If you're a celebrity and you just say a catchphrase, you use a catchphrase, but there's no business with it, you're probably not going to get a trademark. Now, if there's a case, and again, we're not going to something to go into a deeper dive. We look at specific examples. I can go look at the case law, see what actually happened. But for really right now, we're just looking at the example that was given. If Cardi B had shirts and she had an album and she had a whole lot of merchandise where she's selling as a business, this occur is something that she's actually trying to is a business model, not just a catchphrase she says on Instagram or all these things, then perhaps a business case would exist for her to actually get a trademark. If it's just a catchphrase, a lot of times what happens, people will pay attention and understand the law. They pay attention to what celebrities or influencers are doing, and they'll trademark it first. So someone can listen to Cardi B do or occur, say, oh, make a t-shirt. Make a t-shirt, start a website, start selling a whole bunch of stuff, and file a trademark before Cardi B even gets out the door. So, knowledge of the law, usually what happens, so we talked about starting with what is IP. You go through this first when you start a business. You go through this and you do things intentionally with focus. And then you think about the intangible assets you have in your intellectual property. You build it out. You think about, okay, what type of protection do I need for all these intellectual property thoughts that I have? Okay, and then we put up a strategy for this, right? This should not be done on your own. Just to be honest with you. I mean, you can do it, but if I don't even say that. I want to say if I got paid for everybody that comes to me, you start where you can start. But when you do this without professional guidance, you end up making mistakes that can cost you. I just had, and I was very sad to tell, but we're honest here. We're not just trying to sell you something. We're really trying to make sure you have the best information. And so I had a gentleman that has been in business, very a professional, at his craft. He had been in the business 20 years and had innovated these wonderful products, a number of products that are being used all over the country. And he wanted to get a patent, but he's been selling these things for 20 years. That took him out, he no longer had the ability to get a patent because once you take commercial use, you start selling something, you start receiving money for your product, and you have not started the patent process, that disqualifies you from getting a patent. And there's some specific cases where that's a workaround, but you have to do this intellectual property work first or in the very early stages. It's not something you come back and fix. I'll get to it later because oftentimes later you get to it and you can't do it. So we talked about what is intellectual property. That's where we start. I don't care if you're a multi-million-dollar business. You have to do this for yourself, or you're an individual. You just thought of something. You had it, been thinking about it for some time. You want to see if you could pursue it. You have to first understand what is intellectual property, and then be guided through understanding what aspects of your idea, qualify for IP protection and what don't. When you do that, you can develop a strategy on how to protect it. So like I said, we only have about 7 more minutes here. Well, we tried to go live earlier. We had a lot of issues. We ended up going live. The Zoom didn't work. The YouTube and all that stuff. So we ended up doing. Now we're on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. So you can catch us there. So we talked about what is intellectual property, and again, we'll have to do this again. I have a series I want to do. I want to kind of go through some things, just educate and inform. A lot of people, when they start the IP process, it's reactionary. Once something happens, you build a business, you start a website, you start a social media handle, a social media account, and then you build up your followers, you're growing, and then you get, all of a sudden your Instagram pulls your site down, pulls your page down, or you get, you go to your website, it's not working. And then you realize that you've gotten a legal cease and desist because the name that you chose is actually somebody else's trademark. And you just hit the threshold of getting their attention because you got that much buzz now. And now they're enforcing their mark. And you didn't realize because you didn't do a trademark search before you chose a name. You didn't try to get your platform trademarked, and no one wants to build up 150,000 or 1 million followers and then have to shut down or rebrand because they didn't get a trademark. And this is, I'll tell you this story, like I said, before we close. Maybe I'll save it for next time. I can't really go through the details. So I'll save this story for next time. We'll pretty much be going on live around this time. I think tomorrow I'll be doing a presentation at the Howard County Small Business Accelerator about intellectual property. I need to ask, I don't know if we're going to be allowed to go live during that presentation. If I can, we will record it, or maybe something I can record and we'll post it later. But for the most part, we'll be sharing these tidbits pretty regularly on our social media, and we'll also kind of talk about how you can get our help to do this. So today we covered what is intellectual property. Intellectual property, we said you look at the word intellectual, things that come from the intellect, thoughts or mental property. Property, something that's possession, something that has value. What's interesting is that word we use, property, is because property is tangible and has value, but we think of intellect as something that's intangible. But the reality is everything that is tangible, that is produced out of the resourcefulness of someone's mind, using the physical resources of the earth, comes from a thought or an idea. And so whenever you see a physical product, whenever you see a product, even if you see a software program, the new iPhone, all these things, you're seeing the results of someone's intellectual property. You're seeing the tangible results of thoughts and ideas. And so these things they're very critical. We often oversimplify and don't give the accurate value, because when you have a thought and an idea, I think I have that sense all the time. People say, I prayed for $1 million and you got $1 million idea, but you never implemented it. And how many of us have gone and had an idea, and then we thought about it, never took action on it, and then we go see it on the shelf in the store and said, man, I had that idea. So implementation, you have to execute on the idea. But also a part of that is protecting the idea in its infancy. Protect your intellectual property is like planting a seed. And so you're protecting this intangible asset so that when it grows, it becomes a tangible asset. You have protected it and you have de-risked yourself. And we have a way that we go through the 3 pillars of intellectual property across 5 risk areas in a way that minimizes your risk and helps to make sure that you have a bulletproof strategy going in from the front. So again, the example we gave today was Kanye West, and we can talk more about that, but he is someone that has leveraged, like he's become a quote unquote billionaire according to what he says and what he says in Forbes. I don't know. We don't know. People say they're billionaires on the Forbes list. I don't know if they have to submit their books or what, but based on what he's saying, we can say he's someone that has been very successfully leveraged his intellectual property from initially being a producer, and making money off of actually sampling others' intellectual property, other songs and beats, and then using those collection of other songs and beats in a way that creates his own songs and beats, and then leverage that to become a rapper and do the same thing for his own music and songs in a way that influences it, and putting things that music that doesn't necessarily go together, techno with hip hop, or, some type of classical type music with hip hop beats, putting things together that don't necessarily go together for his art, and building a very powerful brand and reputation, leveraging that into fashion. Again, creating shoes, creating clothing, creating ideas, and then leveraging that for $1 billion or more. So this is, while we're not necessarily commenting on his political comments and the things that he said that have caused a lot of uproar, the example of the artist and the work is definitely a great IP example. And all the stuff actually going on, mental health aside, is definitely a conversation about intellectual property, because he's someone who is greatly commercializing intellectual property. Someone that's not necessarily always original in his contribution, but knowing how to use intellectual property and leverage intellectual property of others has been able to be quite successful. So I hope hope you can join us next time. If you like this, if you're on the YouTube, like and subscribe. If you're on Instagram, share this with others. And like I said, we'll be on here again, continuing to give you information about intellectual property, breaking down what it is, what it isn't, and how to go through the process. We have some other things we'll talk about. We've been posting some reels. We'll talk about the complete story behind the reels. I know we have one on Michael Jordan. That's one that really takes some time to get into, because I want to say so much in 19 seconds. But we have, ones on Kanye West, ones on, different examples. So we kind of go through those as well through these lives to kind of explain the backstory behind these reels and understand what's actually happening. So, that being said, thank you for joining us, and catch us next time. You can catch us here on our social media channels, Patent Insider, or on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and also on YouTube. Until next time.